Age-graded features of speech. We all know that um, by the choice of words, we know who is speaking. That is, older people have their own choice of vocabulary in the way they speak, and the younger children or young people, boys or girls, have their own way of speaking, the way they speak, the choice of words, the pronunciation, and even the pitch of the voice. Well, we all know that when girls and boys hit their puberty, so their voice is something which changes with that too. So with boys, with young boys, it's very common that we notice that their voice becomes lower in the pitch, and their boys vocal cords generally grow faster and bigger than girls, and men head and lungs are also larger than women's, and and just as older people's are bigger than the children. And just as we can differentiate between children voice from the older people, so can we also just differentiate a girl's voice from the boys as well. So these are the changes that we know that comes with the age, and even within the gender. So we know that the voice of how is the voice of a young boy, or the voice of a male who's around 40. So we can easily differentiate. There are other there are different um, things that come when it comes to the choice of language. So we cannot exactly say that all the male all the males have lower pitch, because it's like um, we have heard that um, Margaret underwent some kind of training, who is actually a former Britain's prime minister. She has undergone um, some trainings to lower the pitch of her voice, and that is something which is associated with the politicians, even if they are females. So they think that in order to portray themselves to be manly, or in order to portray themselves to be more dominant, they have to use some male features of the speech, and in order to be more to be taken more seriously, they should have such kind of lower pitch voice. So we know that masculinity is associated with the politics as well, and that is the reason that um, we uh, like people try to, even females try to portray this high pitch, this low pitch voice for using language when they are speaking. Secondly, male normally focus on the vernacular forms, as we've already discussed. So same goes for the, as we have uh, choices uh, for the males and the females differences of vernacular forms and the standard forms, so are the differences with the age as well. So when it comes to age, we have seen the difference that normally girls are they like girls and boys of like younger girls and boys, they try to use a very vernacular form of the language, and when they hit around uh, around 20 or above, they try to It's because it's the need of the time, so they try to be accepted by the society. And if they are using very vernacular form of the language, it is obvious that they will not be given any jobs or the kind of acceptability which is there for the standard form of the language. It is important that they should use the standard form when it comes to society, when it comes to formal places. So this becomes their habit and they try to avoid it. So when they try to avoid it, both males and females, they try to avoid it. And then when they grow old, they once again do not care for the society and do not care for the face value. And then they once again, when they grow older, they use informal, they use a vernacular form of the language. um, there are uh, different features in people's speech which may vary at different ages, and that could be, a vocabulary, pronunciation, and grammar. Like all these may vary from 10 years old or teenagers. They when they grow old, they stop using the kind of the language that they used to use previously. So all these patterns are divided based on the age groups. So, for instance, we have already discussed this, water and matter, like the kind of a ter sound, which is the glottal stop, which is like in the it different is different in the vernacular and the standard form. And you can see that it is not there in the vernacular form. And boys and girls at the younger age, they don't use it. And then when they grow older, they try to mm, use it in their communication, because that's what that is what is desirable at that age, because they are now grown up, so they have to change. Even not just this, but also the slang language that they once used is also gone. That is, younger people tend to use or slang language a lot, even some swear words. And when they grow old, they try not to use those swear words like in everyday conversation. They try not to make it their habit. uh, why do they use why younger people use swear words with swear words or slang language? Because they think that it's the kind of membership of that group of the people. So if you're um, not using younger age groups language, the kind of the language that they speak, then you are considered an out group. There are certain choice of words that people normally use, and which would also tell you like to which area you belong to and which specific group. So, for instance, in New Zealand, young people, they use the terms like sweet, choice, awesome, and cool. Like cool is very common. Like for everything that they appreciate, they say cool. So this is something that is uh, is for the membership of the particular group of New Zealand young people. However, in British, however, if a British person, to identify a British person, they there are certain outdated slang words like, topping or super, groovy, fab. So if you are using these words, you'll be considered an old member of that group. That is, you're a British person with the as a member of the older generation, because fab was a word that they used to use at their time, and it was a famous word for them to be the part of that group, and they're still using it. So, but now with the passage of time, younger people use different words, and you have to learn those terminologies in order to be the part of that young group. But because you're not the part of the young group, so you don't use that kind of the language or that kind of the choice of words. So it means that in order to be the part of a group, you need to um, know the kind of the language that they speak, and you also speak the same kind of the language. Age and social dialect data. um, Speech of young children in Britain and USA is not clearly differentiated by the gender until they are approaching puberty. So um, if there are young children, especially specifically in Britain and USA, they their language is not that much different, like as compared to here in Pakistan. If you look at the language of a boy and a girl, they vary a lot, even when they are young. That varies, but this could be a very good research as well if you want to take that topic. So it could be a very good research topic as well, here in Pakistani community or in Pashtun community or Hinko speaking community. You can look at the differences. But in Britain and USA, it's not the case. Like the differences are not that much prominent unless and until they don't hit puberty. Whereas in Denmark, there's evidence of differences between boys and girls' use of vernacular versus the standard forms, standard morphological variant from forms of, from as young as 4 years old. So in Denmark, boys and girls use vernacular and standard forms, which are different right from the age of 4. And that is something very, different. When that is something which is related to the social dialect, because uh, age is there, but age has to do something with the social dialect. So wherever you're speaking the language, it may vary. So for example, if someone is using the language in USA, so maybe we can say that age difference is not that much over there. That is, language differences based on age is not that much over there between the boys and the girls. However, when you look at the language of one age group and compare it to the other age group, yes, even in USA and Britain, there's going to be that difference. Same as the example that we have already discussed, that is walk-in ing of, the standard, that how boys tend to, or young people tend to use this ing as in walk-in, as in walking. Okay. So it is like, when children, they when they reach middle age, so there is some kind of pressure of the society which forces them to change their vernacular forms that they're using, even the slang language that they are using. So how does it change? It changes with the society. That's what society demands. That is why they change their language from the vernacular to the standard. And then once again, that vernacular usage increases in the old age, when there is no such force that is working against the use of vernacular form. So they try to they try to get back to the same vernacular form of the language that they used previously. There are some researches where many social dialectologists who are study dialects, and they have found that people at young age, or the ones who are adults, use particularly high uh, frequencies of vernacular forms, especially if they are forms such as ain't and multiple negations, as we have already discussed multiple negations in the previous section, and which people clearly recognize, identify as non-standard, and it is used for the purpose that they belong to that specific group. That is why they are using that non-standard form, or ain't words, or multiple negations. Okay. um Okay, this is the same example that maybe it's like it's not just between the two between two dialects, but it is between two. It can be between two languages as well. The differences can be between two languages as well. As the French Canadians, at different ages, they like the way they use the language varies from one age to another. So when someone is as young, they are monolingual in French, so they try to use French. And when they grow older, so there's this need of using English, and then they go to schools, and um, they learn that language. They become bilinguals, and then at the age when they grow older, they get retired from their workplaces, then they once again become monolingual, and they try to use French. So in order to make it easy for you to understand, I'll just give you an example, which is not true example, but I'll just make it easy for you to understand. And that is, like, let's suppose if we speak a child is born, and their parents start speaking with him um, in Pashto. But once the child goes to school, the child is facing problem with Urdu, because it's very common that Pashto speakers have problems speaking in Pashto, speaking in Urdu when it comes to schools. So their parents start speaking in Urdu with them at home. And once there's a time when the child grows, and the school age is gone, and they are like fine with speaking Urdu, and now they have learned Urdu, they try to come back to Pashto once again, and they try to speak in Pashto with their children once again, because now the need of that time is gone. So uh, the need is gone, like it's no more there. um, this could be a good example. Like, there are certain families that do this because it's kind of a need. So like, it changes with age, and it changes with the passage of time. So age has to do with this. When they are young, when the social factors are gone, those social dialect factors are gone, the social needs are gone, then the language automatically changes according to that. So same is the case here in this French Canadian example as well. And so people change that language because of that as well. Okay. um in we can see that when there is a change in any linguistic form in any community, um you can see that the younger people will be using that terminology more as compared to the older people. So any form which is dying would be used by the older people more, and the younger people are not using it. So anything which is trending, or anything which is adding to the uh, adding to the language, in anything which is a linguistic change in a community, would be used more by the by the younger generation as compared to the older generation. I'll give you an example of this SMS language, because our older generation never used this SMS language, so they never knew about those things. Even today, when your parents are using mobile phones, they don't know the meaning of those SMS languages that you send, the short forms that you send, and they'll be all the time asking you that what is the meaning of that if you send them those messages. But because it's trending, and it's a new change, linguistic change that is happening or occurring in the language in a community, so only the younger generation know about all these terminologies and all those words. However, our older generation are not aware of that. This is a good example of how a linguistic change, when linguistic change is occurring, or any new word is added, or different forms of words are added, different meaning of a word is added. So um, in that instance, only the younger people will be using it more as compared to the older generation. And this is one change as well, that is related to the age factor in any community or in any society.